The rain poured mercilessly over Medellin's steep streets, turning them into muddy rivers as thunder crackled overhead like angry explosions. Among the chaos, Sofia Martinez, a 25-year-old single mother, clutched her 2-year-old son Lucas tightly against her chest as she ran through the flooded sidewalks. Her thin jacket offered little protection against the brutal storm, and she could feel Lucas shivering against her. "Just a little longer, mi amor," she whispered, searching desperately for shelter. The storm had caught them by surprise on their way home from the daycare center, and now they were stranded in one of the city's upscale neighborhoods, far from their modest apartment in the outskirts. Through the curtain of rain, Sophia spotted a luxury sedan parked at the corner, its headlights casting a warm glow that reflected off the puddles. Without thinking twice, she rushed toward it, assuming it was a taxi. She yanked open the back door and jumped inside, water dripping from her clothes onto the pristine leather seats. "Please, we need to get to—" The words died in her throat as she realized her mistake. This was no taxi. In the front seat sat a man in an impeccably tailored suit, his sharp features and stern expression marking him as distinctly foreign to the Colombian landscape. Karim al-Rahman, heir to one of the Middle East's most influential business dynasties, stared at the bedraggled woman who had just invaded his personal space with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Sophia's heart raced as she reached for the door handle, ready to flee back into the storm. "I'm so sorry, I thought—" "Wait." Karim's voice was deep and controlled with just a hint of an accent. He studied the way she protectively cradled her son, noting the determination in her eyes despite her obvious fear. Something about her desperation stirred something in him, a feeling he couldn't quite name. "Let me help you." He reached into the console and pulled out a soft towel, offering it without a word. Sophia hesitated before accepting it, her hands trembling slightly as she dried Lucas's face and hair. The boy had stopped crying and was now watching Karim with wide, curious eyes. "Where do you live?" Karim asked, his tone businesslike but not unkind. "El Popular," Sophia answered quietly, naming one of the city's working-class neighborhoods. She saw a flicker of recognition in Karim's eyes. He knew it was far from this affluent area, where his family's business interests often brought him. "The streets leading there will be flooded," he said, more to himself than to her. "Making a decision," he turned to his driver. "Take us to the Alameda Hotel." Sophia stiffened. "No, please, just let us out at a bus stop. We'll manage." "In this weather?" Karim raised an eyebrow. "With your son, that would be irresponsible of me to allow." His words were firm but not threatening. "The hotel has a restaurant where your boy can get something warm to eat, and you can both dry off properly. I often stay there when I'm in Medellin on business." As if to emphasize his point, a massive thunderclap shook the air around them, making Lucas whimper and burrow deeper into his mother's embrace. Sophia looked down at her son, then out at the worsening storm, and finally at the enigmatic man whose car she had mistakenly entered. Everything she knew told her to be wary of such offers from strangers, especially powerful men. But there was something in Karim's eyes, a loneliness perhaps, or a sincerity that seemed to transcend his polished exterior. "Why would you help us?" she asked directly, her protective instincts still on high alert. Karim was silent for a moment, considering her question. "Because sometimes the universe puts people in our path for a reason," he finally answered, his voice carrying a weight that suggested he was surprising himself with his own response. "And because I believe that wealth brings responsibility. Something my family often forgets in their pursuit of more wealth." The car moved smoothly through the rain-slicked streets, its powerful engine humming quietly. Sophia found herself studying Karim's reflection in the window. The perfect posture, the carefully trimmed beard, the way his hands rested precisely on his knees. Everything about him spoke of a life lived according to strict rules and expectations. Yet there was something else there, something that had made him stop and help a desperate mother and child who had literally crashed into his carefully ordered world. As they approached the hotel, its elegant facade rising through the rain like a beacon, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that this stormy evening would mark the beginning of something significant. She just couldn't decide whether that thought filled her with hope or terror. The Alameda Hotel's lobby was a study in opulence, with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers reflecting the storm's lightning in dazzling patterns. Sophia felt painfully out of place as she followed Karim through the grand entrance, her wet shoes squeaking against the polished floor. Lucas, now more awake and curious, gazed in wonder at the gleaming surroundings. The hotel staff's reaction to Karim's arrival was immediate and telling. The manager himself appeared, all smiles and efficient gestures, though his expression flickered with barely concealed surprise at the sight of Sophia and Lucas. "Mr. Al-Rahman, your usual suite is ready. Shall I have some refreshments?" "Sent up?" "Yes," Karim replied, his tone brooking no questions about his unusual companions. "And please send up a selection of warm food suitable for a young child. Also, we'll need some dry clothes." He glanced at Sophia, making a quick assessment. "Size small for the lady, and whatever you can find appropriate for a 2-year-old boy." The elevator, Sophia finally found her voice. "This is too much, we can't accept—" "You can and you will," Karim interrupted, but not unkindly. "Consider it karma for all the times I've ignored people in need, too busy with my family's empire to notice the world around me." The suite was larger than Sophia's entire apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the storm-swept city. Lucas, suddenly energized by the new environment, wiggled free from his mother's arms and began exploring the vast space with toddler enthusiasm. "The bathroom is through there," Karim gestured to a door. "You'll find everything you need. I'll have the clothes brought up shortly." He moved to the living area of the suite, maintaining a respectful distance that somehow made Sophia feel more, not less, comfortable. As she helped Lucas out of his wet clothes and into a warm bath, Sophia's mind raced. Who was this man, really? His name, his bearing, the way the hotel staff treated him, everything spoke of immense wealth and influence. Yet there was something in his eyes when he looked at Lucas, a softness that seemed at odds with his powerful persona. When they emerged from the bathroom wrapped in plush hotel robes, they found a feast waiting in the living room. Lucas's eyes went wide at the sight of the colorful array of fruits, pastries, and small sandwiches. Karim sat in an armchair, his jacket removed and sleeves rolled up, looking surprisingly more human. "Please, eat," he gestured to the spread. Sophia helped Lucas to a child-sized portion, while trying to maintain some dignity despite her growling stomach. Karim watched them with an unreadable expression. "You're wondering why I'm doing this," he said finally, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled over the room. Sophia met his gaze directly. "Yes. I spend my life between Dubai and Colombia, managing my family's investments, hotels, real estate, technology, all of it making money to make more money." He paused, his fingers drumming thoughtfully on the armrest. "But tonight, watching, you protect your son from the storm. It reminded me of something my grandmother used to say, wealth without purpose is a golden cage. And helping strangers gives you purpose?" Sophia couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. A small smile tugged at Karim's lips. Perhaps I'm tired of living up to everyone else's expectations. My family, our business partners, our social circle, everyone has a script. They expect me to follow. He looked out at the rain-streaked windows. "Did you know I originally wanted to be a teacher?" Sophia blinked in surprise. "What happened?" "Family duty, tradition, the endless meetings and deals that supposedly maintain our dynasty." He turned back to her. "What about you? What did you want to be?" "A social worker," Sophia answered, surprised by her own candor. "I wanted to help children from difficult backgrounds, give them opportunities." She stroked Lucas's hair as he contentedly munched on a strawberry. But life had other plans. Life or circumstances that could be changed. Karim leaned forward, his expression intense. "What if I told you I'm looking for someone to help run my family's charitable foundation here in Medellin? Someone who understands the real needs of the community, not just what looks good in press releases." Sophia froze, her hand still on Lucas's head. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity. The foundation exists, but it's stagnant, managed by people who've never known real struggle. They mean well, but they lack perspective. He stood and walked to the window, his silhouette stark against the stormy sky. Your background, your experience, your obvious determination, these are exactly what we need. But I don't have the right education, the right connections. You have something more valuable, authenticity. Karim turned back to face her. Think about it. The position comes with a competitive salary, benefits, and flexible hours to accommodate your son's needs. Sophia's mind whirled with possibilities and doubts. Was this real? Could she trust this unexpected opportunity? And why did she feel like there was something more beneath the surface of Karim's offer? Something in the way his eyes lingered on her face when he thought she wasn't looking. A knock at the door announced the arrival of dry clothes, interrupting the charged moment. As Sophia helped Lucas change into a new outfit that fit surprisingly well, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the edge of something life-changing. The question was, would taking this leap bring her closer to her dreams or make her fall into complications she couldn't even imagine? The Al Rahman Foundation occupied the top floor of a sleek office building in Medellin's financial district. 1 week after the stormy night that had changed her life, Sophia stood in the elevator, her heart pounding as the numbers climbed. She had spent hours choosing her outfit, a modest navy blue dress and low heels, professional but not pretentious. Lucas was safely settled in a new daycare center, one that the foundation had arranged for her. The elevator doors opened to reveal a world of glass, chrome, and understated luxury. A receptionist with perfectly manicured nails looked up, her practiced smile faltering slightly as she assessed Sophia. "May I help you?" "Sophia Martinez. I'm here to see Mr. Al Rahman." "Oh." The receptionist's tone carried a hint of disapproval. "Yes, you're the new project coordinator. Please wait here." Sophia stood straight, refusing to let the woman's attitude affect her. She could feel curious eyes watching her from the open-plan office space beyond the reception area. The whispers were barely audible but clear in their intent. Who was she? How had she gotten this position? What was her relationship with Karim? "Sophia." Karim's voice cut through the murmurs as he emerged from a conference room. He wore a charcoal, grey suit that probably cost more than she made in a year, but his smile was genuine. "Welcome to the foundation, please come with me." As they walked through the office, Sophia noticed how the other employees quickly looked away, pretending to be absorbed in their work. All except one woman who stood near the window, watching them with undisguised interest. She was strikingly beautiful, with long dark hair and designer clothes that screamed old money. "That's Isabella Ramirez," Karim explained quietly as he led Sophia to her new office. "She's been with the foundation since its inception. Her family has added connections to mine." Sophia's new workspace was modest but comfortable, with a view of the city that took her breath away. "This is more than I expected," she admitted. "The foundation has resources," Karim replied, leaning against her desk. "What it lacks is direction, real impact. That's where you come in." He handed her a tablet. "These are our current projects. Review them. Tell me what you think, honestly. Don't worry about hurting anyone's feelings." Before Sophia could respond, Isabella appeared in the doorway. "Karim, darling, you're going to be late for the board meeting." Her smile was dazzling but didn't reach her eyes. "And your brother is calling from Dubai. Again." Karim's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Thank you, Isabella. I'll be right there." He turned back to Sophia. "Get settled in, we'll talk more later." As soon as Karim left, Isabella lingered, her perfectly painted lips curved in a smile that seemed more warning than welcome. "So, you're the mysterious new hire everyone's talking about. Quite a fairy tale. From the streets to the executive floor in one stormy night." Sophia met her gaze steadily. "I'm here to work, Ms. Ramirez, nothing more." "Of course you are," Isabella's voice dripped with honey-coated venom. "Just remember, fairy tales aren't real, and Karim, well, he has obligations, family expectations." Understanding that will save you a lot of disappointment. After Isabella left, Sophia sat at her desk trying to calm her racing heart. She opened the tablet and began reviewing the Foundation's projects, but her mind kept wandering to Isabella's words. What exactly were Karim's obligations? And why did she care? The answer came later that afternoon when she overheard two employees talking in the break room, unaware of her presence around the corner. Isabella's furious, one whispered. Can you blame her? She and Karim were practically engaged before he went to Dubai last year. Their families have been planning the merger. I mean marriage, forever. Well, she should have thought of that before she got involved with that real estate developer while Karim was away. Besides, did you see how he looks at the new girl? It doesn't matter. You know how these powerful families work. Isabella's father is on the board of the Al Rahman Group. The marriage is practically a business contract. Sophia felt her cheeks burn. She hadn't asked for any of this. The job, the complications, the apparent rivalry with a woman who had every advantage in life. She just wanted to make a difference, to create better opportunities for people like herself who never got a fair chance. That evening, as she worked late reviewing project files, she discovered something interesting. Most of the Foundation's programs looked impressive on paper, but had minimal real impact. They were all surface, no substance, designed to generate positive press rather than create lasting change. She was so absorbed in her analysis that she didn't notice Karim standing in her doorway, watching her with an unreadable expression. You look troubled, he said, making her jump slightly. These programs, Sophia gestured to her screen, they're not reaching the people who really need help. It's all galas and photo opportunities, but where's the actual support for struggling families? Where are the educational initiatives, the job training programs? Instead of being offended, Karim smiled. This is exactly why I hired you. He sat down across from her desk. Tell me more. Tell me everything that's wrong and then tell me how to fix it. As Sophia began to outline her ideas, her passion evident in every word, neither of them noticed Isabella watching from the shadows. Her perfectly manicured hands clenched into fists, her mind already formulating plans to protect what she considered rightfully hers. 1 month into her new position, Sophia sat in a conference room surrounded by skeptical faces. She had just presented her proposal for a comprehensive support program for single mothers, including job training, childcare assistance, and educational opportunities. The silence that followed her presentation was deafening. This is ambitious, said Eduardo Martinez, no relation, one of the Foundation's senior directors, his tone carefully neutral. But the budget you're proposing would require us to redirect funds from several existing programs. Programs that aren't delivering real results, Sophia countered, standing her ground. Look at the data I've presented. We're spending millions on charity galas that generate press but don't create lasting change. These women don't need another fancy fundraiser. They need actual support. Isabella, who had been examining her manicure with studied indifference, looked up with a predatory smile. It's touching how passionate you are about this particular demographic. One might almost think you have a personal stake in the matter. Before Sophia could respond, Karim spoke from the head of the table. Personal experience can be valuable when properly channeled into professional insight. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. Sophia's proposal is exactly the kind of innovative thinking this foundation needs. Your father might disagree, Isabella replied smoothly. The Al Rahman Group has always prioritized initiatives that strengthen business relationships. These community programs lack the networking potential he values. Sophia watched as Karim's jaw tightened. Almost imperceptibly, the mention of his father had struck a nerve, and she realized there were layers of family pressure she hadn't even begun to understand. My father put me in charge of the Foundation's Colombian operations, Karim said finally. And I believe, in this proposal, we'll start with a pilot program, smaller scale but with all the essential elements intact. Sophia, you'll lead the implementation. After the meeting, Sophia retreated to her office, her victory feeling somewhat hollow. Through her glass walls, She could see the other employees whispering, their glances a mixture of curiosity and resentment. She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice Karim entering until he spoke. "Don't let them discourage you," he said, closing the door behind him. "Change makes people uncomfortable, especially when it threatens their comfortable routines." Sophia looked up at him, noting the slight shadows under his eyes. "Your father, Ryan, will he really oppose this?" Karim ran a hand through his perfectly groomed hair, a rare gesture of frustration. "My father sees everything through the lens of business advantage. The foundation is just another tool for maintaining our social position." He moved to the window, looking out at the city sprawled below. "But I'm tired of living solely for appearances. Is that why you never followed through with—" Sophia hesitated, then forced herself to continue. "With Isabella?" He turned to face her, his expression complex. "Ah, so you've heard about that. Yes, it was an arranged match, politically and financially advantageous for both families. Isabella played her part perfectly, until she didn't. What happened? She showed her true colors. While I was in Dubai dealing with a family crisis, she found comfort elsewhere. My family was willing to overlook it for the sake of the business alliance, but I couldn't." He smiled wryly. "It was actually a relief. It gave me an excuse to end something I never wanted in the first place." The air between them felt charged with unspoken possibilities. Sophia found herself noticing details she tried to ignore, the way his shirt stretched across his shoulders, the intensity in his dark eyes when he looked at her, the subtle cologne that seemed to fill her office. A knock at the door broke the moment. It was Lucas's daycare. He had a fever and needed to be picked up immediately. Sophia began gathering her things, her mind already shifting to mother mode. "I'm sorry, I have to go," she said, feeling the familiar guilt of trying to balance work and parenthood. "Take the company car," Karim insisted, already calling his driver. "And work from home tomorrow if you need to. Family comes first." The warmth in his voice when he said family made Sophia's heart flutter traitorously. As she rushed to the elevator, she passed Isabella's office and caught a snippet of a phone conversation. "Yes, Mr. Al-Rahman," Isabella was saying, presumably to Karim's father. "I'm concerned about some recent developments at the foundation. Your son seems to be distracted from our core mission." Sophia's stomach clenched. She knew that Isabella was more than just a jealous ex-fiancée. She was a direct line to the powers that could destroy everything Sophia was trying to build, both professionally and personally. In the car, as the driver navigated through Medellin's busy streets, Sophia's phone buzzed with a message from Karim. "Don't worry about Isabella, focus on your son. And when you're ready, I'd like to hear more about your ideas for expanding the program." Sophia smiled despite her worries. The message wasn't overtly personal, but she could feel the support and something more behind the professional words. She was playing a dangerous game, letting herself feel this way about her boss, about a man from a world so different from hers. But as she thought about his quiet strength, his hidden kindness, and the way he looked at her when he thought no one was watching, she wondered if maybe some games were worth the risk. The autumn sun cast long shadows across Sophia's desk as she reviewed the latest reports from her pilot program. 3 months had passed since its launch, and the results were encouraging. 25 single mothers had already found stable employment through the initiative, and their children were thriving in the Foundation's partnered daycare centers. However, her satisfaction was interrupted by a sharp knock on her office door. "Have you seen this?" Isabella strode in without waiting for an invitation, dropping a tablet on Sophia's desk. The screen displayed an article from one of Medellin's most influential business magazines. Al-Rahman Foundation loses key investors amid strategic shift. Sophia's heart sank as she skimmed the article. Several major corporate donors had withdrawn their support, citing concerns about the foundation's new direction. The article specifically mentioned her program, suggesting it was driving away traditional supporters who preferred more prestigious initiatives. "The board meeting is in tied into an hour," Isabella announced, her perfect smile not reaching her eyes. "They'll want explanations. Of course, Karim's not here to defend your little project. He's in Dubai dealing with his family concerns." Sophia maintained her composure, though her hands trembled slightly. "The program is showing real results. Numbers don't lie." "Numbers?" Isabella laughed softly. "Oh, darling, this was never about numbers. It's about relationships, influence, social currency, things you clearly don't understand." Before Sophia could respond, her phone buzzed with a message from Lucas's teacher. He had drawn a family picture today, and in it there was a tall figure standing beside Sophia that he identified as Mr. Karim. The teacher was concerned about Lucas's attachment to non-family members. Isabella, who had caught a glimpse of the message, raised an perfectly shaped eyebrow. "How sweet. The little boy needs a father figure. Tell me, Sophia, is that what this is all about? Using the foundation, using Karim to create your perfect little family?" "You don't know anything about me or my son," Sophia said quietly, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I know more than you think. I know about the struggling student who dropped out of university when she got pregnant. I know about the father who disappeared. I know about the string of dead-end jobs." Isabella leaned forward, her designer perfume overwhelming in the small office. "What I don't know is what makes you think you belong in our world." "This isn't about belonging in your world," Sophia countered, standing to meet Isabella's gaze. "It's about making a difference in the real one." "How noble," Isabella straightened, adjusting her Hermes scarf. "Well, you'll have a chance to defend that position to the board. They're particularly interested in hearing about the program's budget overruns." "What overruns? We're under budget. I have all the documentation." "Do you?" Isabella's smile was poison sweet. "You might want to check those numbers again, carefully." After Isabella left, Sophia frantically reviewed her financial reports. Everything seemed in order, but something felt wrong. She called the accounting department, only to discover that several expense reports had been updated the previous week. The changes were subtle but significant, making the program appear over budget and inefficient. Her computer pinged with an incoming video call from Dubai. Karim's face appeared on her screen, looking tired but determined. "Sophia, don't let anything they say in the board meeting shake you. I've been dealing with my father and brother here, but I'm flying back tonight. Just hold the line until I return." "Karim, someone's manipulated the financial reports. The program looks like it's failing, but it's not. I can prove it. I just need time." His expression darkened. "Isabella, she's working with my brother. They're trying to force my hand." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Sophia had come to recognize as a sign of stress. "My father's health isn't good, and succession plans are being discussed. My brother thinks I'm becoming too independent." "This is about more than just the foundation, isn't it?" "Much more. My brother wants me back in Dubai managing investments, making the right social connections. The foundation was supposed to be a temporary assignment." His eyes softened as he looked at her through the screen. "But things have changed. I've changed." The way he said those last words made Sophia's pulse quicken. Before she could respond, she heard Lucas's voice from the doorway. "Mama, look what I drew!" He ran to her desk, proudly holding up his family picture. Karim smiled at the sight of the boy. "Is that me in the drawing, Lucas?" Lucas nodded enthusiastically. "You make Mama smile, like in the stories where the princess is sad and then the prince comes and makes everything better." Sophia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but Karim's laugh was warm and genuine. "I'm no prince, little man, but thank you for including me in your family." The moment was interrupted by another message. The board meeting was being moved up. They were gathering now. "Go," Karim said, his voice urgent. "Show them what you've built. The real numbers, the real impact. I'll be there as soon as I can." As Sophia gathered her materials, Lucas's drawing clutched carefully in one hand. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap. Isabella's smug confidence, the manipulated reports, the timing of it all. Someone was orchestrating her downfall. The question was, could she prove the truth before everything she'd worked for, everything she was beginning to hope for, came crashing down? The Foundation's boardroom felt like a courtroom, with 12 stern faces staring down at Sophia from the massive mahogany table. Lucas sat quietly in a corner with his coloring books, There hadn't been time to arrange childcare with the sudden schedule change. Isabella stood by the window, a slight smile playing on her perfectly painted lips. "Ms. Martinez," Eduardo Martinez began, shuffling through papers. "These financial reports are troubling. Your program has exceeded its budget by nearly 40%, with minimal return on investment." Sophia took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "With all due respect, those numbers are incorrect. I have the original reports right here." She began distributing folders to each board member. "As you can see, we're actually under budget, and our impact metrics exceed projections. These figures contradict the official records," another board member interrupted, frowning at the documents. "Because someone altered the official records," Sophia stated firmly. "I've already contacted IT to trace the changes. All modifications were made last week using credentials that trace back to—" "That's enough," Isabella stepped forward. "The board isn't interested in wild accusations. The fact remains that this program diverts resources from our core mission. And speaking of inappropriate diversions," she gestured toward Lucas, "this is a boardroom, not a daycare center." Sophia felt her face flush, but before she could respond, her tablet lit up with an incoming video call. Without waiting for permission, she connected it to the boardroom's main screen. Karim's face appeared, his expression stern. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," he began, his voice carrying authority even through the video feed. "I apologize for not being there in person, but this matter couldn't wait. I've just received some interesting information from our IT department in Dubai." Isabella's smile faltered slightly. "It seems someone has been accessing our systems using stolen credentials," Karim continued. "Specifically, they used my brother's login to alter financial records. The interesting part is that the access came from an IP address in Medellin." His eyes fixed on Isabella. "From this building, in fact." The boardroom erupted in murmurs. Isabella's composed facade cracked for a moment before she recovered. "Karim, darling, you can't possibly believe—" "I have the proof right here," Sophia interjected, pulling up emails on the main screen. "These messages show coordination between Ms. Ramirez and certain parties in Dubai, planning to discredit the program and force organizational changes." "This is absurd," Isabella snapped. "Your father will hear about this, Karim. He won't be pleased to learn you're accusing me, of conspiracy, all to protect your little project." She cast a disdainful glance at Sophia. "My father already knows," Karim replied calmly. "In fact, he's quite interested in why his eldest son's credentials were used without his knowledge, especially given the recent discussions about succession." Lucas chose this moment to approach the screen, his small face lighting up. "Mr. Karim, look, I drew another picture." He held up his latest artwork, a colorful scene of people holding hands. The tension in the room shifted palpably. Several board members smiled despite themselves at the child's innocent interruption. Sophia saw something soften in their expressions as they looked between Lucas's bright face and her determined stance. "The Foundation's mission," Sophia said quietly but firmly, "is to create real change in people's lives. Not just to host parties and generate photo opportunities. These women we're helping, they're not statistics. They're real people with real children fighting for a chance at a better life." She gestured to her son. "Like Lucas and me." Eduardo cleared his throat. Perhaps we should review the original data more carefully, if there have indeed been unauthorized alterations to the records." "This is ridiculous," Isabella interrupted, her composure finally cracking. "You're all being manipulated by this opportunist. She appears out of nowhere, wraps Karim around her finger, and suddenly we're abandoning years of established protocol. The only manipulation here," Karim's voice cut through the tension, "has been yours, Isabella. And it ends now." He turned his attention to the board. "I'll be landing in Medellin in 4 hours. Until then, I trust you'll make the right decision about the program's future based on the real data before you." As the board members huddled together, discussing in low voices, Sophia felt a small hand slip into hers. She looked down to see Lucas smiling up at her, completely unaware of the drama unfolding around him. On the screen, Karim watched them with an expression that made her heart skip a beat. "Mama," Lucas whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear in the quiet room, "are the angry people going to stop you from helping the other mamas?" The simple question hung in the air, making several board members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Sophia squeezed her son's hand, drawing strength from his innocent wisdom. The board chairman finally cleared his throat. "Ms. Martinez will need time to verify these allegations and review the original data. But given the circumstances, the program will continue pending our full investigation." Isabella stormed out of the room, her heels clicking angrily on the marble floor. As the board members filed out, several of them nodded respectfully to Sophia. One even stopped to compliment Lucas on his drawing. When the room was empty, except for Sophia and Lucas, Karim spoke again from the screen. "You were brilliant," he said softly. "Both of you." "We make a good team," Sophia replied, her voice trembling slightly with relief and something more. "Yes," Karim agreed, his eyes intense even through the video feed. "We do. And when I land, we need to talk about exactly what that means." As Sophia gathered her things, her son chattering happily beside her, she felt like she was standing on the edge of something momentous. She had won this battle, but she knew there would be more challenges ahead. The question was, would she face them alone, or had she finally found someone worth trusting with her heart? The evening air was thick with anticipation as Sophia stood on the foundation building's rooftop garden. Medelline's lights twinkled below, a tapestry of gold against the purple dusk. She had received Karim's message asking her to meet him here an hour after his plane landed, and now she waited, her heart performing an erratic dance in her chest. The sound of footsteps made her turn. Karim stood there, still in his travel. Clothes, his usual polished appearance, slightly rumpled from the long flight. Something about seeing him this way, more human and less perfect, made Sophia's breath catch. "I came straight from the airport," he said, moving to stand beside her. At the railing, "There are things we need to discuss that couldn't wait." "Your brother," Sophia began, but Karim shook his head. "No. Well, yes, but that's not the most important thing right now." He turned to face her fully. "When I was in Dubai, dealing with all the family politics and pressure, I realized something. Do you know what kept me going through all those endless meetings and arguments?" Sophia remained silent, watching the play of emotions across his usually composed face. "Your messages. Updates about the foundation. Yes, but more than that. The pictures Lucas would draw, the little stories about your day. They became my anchor to something real in a world of facades and power plays." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Sophia now recognized as a sign of him struggling to express something difficult. "My father's health is worse than we've let people know," he continued. "The succession battle between my brother and me isn't just about the foundation anymore. It's about the entire Al Rahman empire. They want me back in Dubai permanently." Sophia felt her heart sink. "I understand. The foundation—" "No," Karim interrupted, taking a step closer. "You don't understand. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing my own path. I've told them I'm staying in Medellin." Before Sophia could process this, the door to the rooftop opened. Lucas burst through, followed by an apologetic-looking security guard. "I'm sorry, Mr. Al Rahman," the guard began, but the boy insisted on finding his mother. "Mr. Karim." Lucas ran forward, launching himself at Karim's legs. "You came back. Did you bring me something from the desert?" Karim laughed, reaching into his jacket pocket. "As a matter of fact, I did." He pulled out a small wooden box carved with intricate patterns. "This is a puzzle box my grandfather gave me when I was about your age. It taught me that sometimes the most precious things take patience to discover." Lucas accepted the box with wide-eyed wonder, immediately sitting cross-legged on the rooftop to examine it. Sophia watched as Karim knelt beside her son, showing him how to find the hidden patterns that would reveal the box's secrets. "My family would never understand this," Karim said softly, looking up at Sophia. "They measure everything in terms of profit and prestige, But watching you with Lucas, seeing how you fight for what matters, how you've built something meaningful with the foundation, it's shown me what real value looks like." Sophia felt tears threatening to form. "Karim, The door opened again, this time revealing Eduardo Martinez. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's an urgent situation. Isabella has called an emergency press conference. She's about to go live, and from what we've heard, she's planning to make some serious allegations." On cue, Sophia's phone buzzed with a news alert. Isabella stood at a podium, looking elegant and wounded, tears glistening perfectly in her eyes as cameras flashed. "The foundation's integrity has been compromised," Isabella was saying. "Personal relationships have clouded professional judgment, and I feel morally obligated to reveal the truth about certain individuals who have taken advantage of the Al-Rahman family's generosity." Karim's phone rang, his father's name flashing on the screen. Lucas looked up from his puzzle box, sensing the tension in the air. Sophia felt her world tilting again, the brief moment of joy evaporating like mist in the morning sun. But then Karim did something that surprised her. He declined the call. "Eduardo," he said firmly, "get our PR team ready. We're going to hold our own press conference. It's time to show the world what this foundation really stands for." He turned to Sophia. "And I want you beside me when we do it." "Are you sure?" Sophia asked, knowing what it could mean for him. "Your family will either accept my choices or not," he finished. "But I'm done letting fear of their disapproval dictate my life." He reached for her hand, then seemed to remember they weren't alone, and pulled back slightly. "The question is, are you ready for what comes next? Because if we do this, if we stand together, there's no going back. The spotlight will be intense, the pressure enormous." Lucas, who had been quietly working on his puzzle box, suddenly exclaimed in delight as one of the panels slid open, revealing a small compartment inside. "Look, Mama. There was something beautiful hidden inside all along." Sophia looked at her son, then at Karim, and finally at the city spread out below them. She thought about all the women in her program fighting for their own chances at happiness. Sometimes, she realized, the biggest risks led to the most precious rewards. "When do we start?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Bengtudi. Foundation's main auditorium was packed with journalists, cameras flashing like lightning in a storm. Isabella's press conference had unleashed a media frenzy with speculation, running wild about scandals and impropriety within the Al-Rahman Foundation. Sophia stood backstage, her heart pounding as she watched the monitors showing the crowd. "Are you ready?" Karim asked, appearing beside her. He looked impeccable in a tailored suit, but Sophia could see the tension in his jaw. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing with calls from Dubai since Isabella's allegations went public. "What if she's right?" Sophia whispered. "What if I am just an opportunist who's disrupted everything?" Karim turned her to face him, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "Is that what you believe? That helping dozens of families, creating real change in their lives, is somehow wrong because it disrupted the comfortable status quo?" Before she could respond, Eduardo rushed up to them, tablet in hand. "You need to see this. Isabella's father has just released a statement to the press." The tablet showed a news feed where Isabella's father, a distinguished-looking man in traditional Middle Eastern dress, stood alongside Karim's brother in Dubai. "The Al-Rahman family has always maintained certain standards," he was saying. "We cannot allow personal indiscretions to tarnish generations of reputation and tradition." Karim's expression darkened. "They're trying to force my hand. If I don't return to Dubai and fall in line, they'll withdraw all support from the foundation." "Then maybe we should," Sophia began, but was interrupted by a commotion in the auditorium. Through the backstage monitors, they could see Isabella, making a dramatic entrance, taking a seat in the front row with an expression of righteous concern. "It's time," Eduardo said quietly. Sophia felt a small hand slip into hers. Lucas, who had been quietly coloring in the corner, looked up at her with complete trust. "Are you going to tell everyone about helping the other mamas?" he asked. His innocent question centered her. This wasn't about her relationship with Karim or family dynasties, or even her own future. It was about something bigger. Karim stepped onto the stage first, his presence commanding immediate attention. Cameras clicked frantically as he approached the podium. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady. "There have been many rumors and allegations circulating about the Al Rahman Foundation. Today, I want to show you the truth." He gestured, and the large screen behind him came to life. Images appeared. Women graduating from training programs, children in new daycare centers, families moving into stable housing. Real people, real lives changed. "This is what the foundation has become under new leadership," Karim continued. "Not just charity for appearance's sake, but real measurable impact. And yes, this change was inspired by someone who knows firsthand the challenges these families face." Sophia took her cue, walking onto the stage with Lucas beside her. The cameras went wild, but she kept her focus on the faces in the audience, particularly the women from her program whom she had invited. "My name is Sofia Martinez," she began, her voice growing stronger with each word. "6 months ago, I was a single mother struggling to make ends meet. Today, I help run a program that has changed the lives of dozens of families like mine. Not through handouts, but through opportunity, education, and support." Isabella stood up, her perfectly composed face showing cracks of fury. "This is exactly what I meant. She's manipulating everyone, using her sob story to... To what?" One of the program participants stood up from the audience. "To give us a chance, to help us build better lives for our children?" Other women stood as well, their voices joining in support. Karim stepped forward again. "The Al Rahman Foundation was created to make a difference in people's lives. Somewhere along the way, it lost sight of that mission. Sofia Martinez helped us find it again." He turned to face Sofia directly. "And in the process, she helped me find something I didn't even know I was looking for." The audience hushed as Karim moved away from the podium, taking Sofia's free hand in his. "My family wants me to choose between tradition and transformation, between their expectations and my own heart." He smiled at Lucas, who beamed back at him. "But I've learned that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is choose both love and purpose." Isabella's laugh cut through the moment. "How touching. But the board won't stand for this romantic fantasy. The investors..." "We'll see the results," Eduardo interrupted, stepping onto the stage with his tablet. "Our latest impact report shows a return on investment 3 times higher than our previous initiatives. Major international organizations have already expressed interest in replicating our program model." The room erupted in questions and camera flashes. In the chaos, Sophia felt Karim squeeze her hand. Looking up, she saw in his eyes everything he couldn't say publicly yet, the depth of his feelings, his determination to fight for what they were building together, his certainty that they would face whatever came next as a team. Lucas tugged at their joined hands. "Did we win?" he asked loudly enough for the nearby microphones to pick up. The audience laughed, breaking the tension. Even some of the journalists were smiling. But Sophia knew this was just the beginning. Isabella's furious expression and the continued calls from Dubai on Karim's phone promised that the real battle was still ahead. Yet standing there, her son's hand in one of hers and Karim's in the other, Sophia felt ready for whatever came next. They had built something real, in the foundation, in their lives, and in their hearts. And real things were worth fighting for. The days following the press conference transformed the Al Rahman Foundation into a battleground of competing narratives. While international media praised the innovative social programs and their impact, traditional business publications questioned the foundation's shift away from conventional philanthropy. Sophia found herself at the center of a storm, her phone constantly buzzing with interview requests and her email flooded with messages from both supporters and critics. In the foundation's executive suite, Sophia sat reviewing the latest round of media coverage when her computer chimed with an urgent video call from Dubai. She expected to see Karim's face, but instead found herself looking at an elderly man with stern features softened by intelligent eyes, Karim's father. "Ms. Martinez," he said, his accent thick but his English precise. "I believe it's time we spoke directly." Sophia straightened in her chair, acutely aware of the simple blouse she wore compared to the man's elaborate traditional dress. "Mr. Al-Rahman, I'm honored." "Are you?" His expression remained neutral. "My son has always been idealistic, but never rebellious. Until now." He paused, studying her through the screen. "Tell me, what are your intentions with my son?" The directness of the question caught Sophia off guard, but she refused to be intimidated. "With all respect, sir, my intentions are professional. I run a program that's changing lives. Your son supports that mission. Yet you attend galas together. He spends time with your son. The press photos show intimacy." "The press sees what it wants to see," Sophia replied carefully, "as does a father." He leaned forward slightly. "I have received many calls about you, Ms. Martinez. Isabella's family is particularly vocal about their concerns. They speak of manipulation, of a carefully orchestrated plan to seduce my son away from his responsibilities." Sophia felt her cheeks burn. "Sir, However," he interrupted, "I have also received other calls, from international NGOs impressed with your program's results, from business leaders interested in social impact investing, even from members of our own board, praising your professional integrity." His expression softened slightly. "And most importantly, I have witnessed something in my son that I haven't seen in years: passion for his work." Before Sophia could respond, the door to her office burst open. Lucas ran in, followed by an apologetic-looking assistant. "Mama, look what I made in school." He stopped short when he saw the stern face on the screen. "Is this your son?" Karim's father asked, his tone unreadable. "Yes, sir. Lucas, say hello to Mr. Al-Rahman." Lucas waved shyly. "Are you Mr. Karim's papa? He told me about you. He said you taught him that with great power comes great responsibility, just like Spider-Man." Something unexpected happened. The elderly man laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to surprise even him. "Did he now? And what else did Karim tell you?" "He said you're very wise and that you taught him to always help people who need it. That's why he helps my mama help other mamas." Lucas beamed, pulling out his latest drawing. "Look, I drew our family tree for school. See? There's Mama and me and Mr. Karim, and now I can add you too." Sophia watched as something shifted in the older man's expression. He looked at the child's innocent drawing, then at Sophia, seeing perhaps for the first time not a threat to his family's dynasty, but a possible addition to it. The moment was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Karim burst in, slightly out of breath. "Sophia, we have a situation. Isabella's father has called an emergency board meeting in Dubai. They're trying to force a vote to suspend all foundation operations pending a full audit and—" He stopped short when he saw his father on the screen. "Baba," he said, switching to Arabic before catching himself. "Father, I can explain." "No need," the older man said, holding up a hand. "Ms. Martinez and I were just discussing family, specifically what it means to build one's own legacy while honoring tradition." He paused meaningfully. "The board meeting has been cancelled." Karim blinked in surprise. "What about Isabella's father?" "He has been reminded that his position on our corporate board depends on maintaining positive relations with the family. All families," he added, looking pointedly at Sophia and Lucas. Sophia felt Karim's hand find hers, squeezing gently. His father noticed the gesture and sighed, but there was a hint of acceptance in his expression. "The Foundation's new direction has attracted attention from some very influential parties," he continued. Perhaps it is time for the Al-Rahman group to evolve as well." He looked directly at his son. "We will speak more when you return to Dubai next week." "Father, I've told you I'm staying in Medellin." "For the engagement celebration?" "Of course," his father finished, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "One must maintain certain traditions after all. Ms. Martinez, I trust you and your son will accompany him." Sophia felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Was this really happening? She looked at Karim, who appeared equally stunned. "That is," his father added more softly, if there is to be an engagement to celebrate. Lucas, who had been quietly drawing, looked up with bright eyes. Does this mean Mr. Karim will be in my family tree for real? The question hung in the air, filled with possibility and promise. Sophia felt Karim's grip tighten on her hand as they stood at the threshold of something both terrifying and wonderful. The battle for the foundation had been won, but the journey of merging two vastly different worlds was just beginning. The Al Rahman Foundation's rooftop garden had been transformed into an enchanted oasis, twinkling lights wrapped around traditional Arabian archways, while Colombian flowers cascaded from elegant vases. The sunset painted the Medellin sky in shades of gold and purple, as if nature itself was celebrating the union of two worlds. Sophia stood before a mirror in the temporary dressing room, hardly recognizing herself in the elegant gown that combined Middle Eastern embroidery with modern Latin flair. Her mother, who had been skeptical of the whirlwind romance, fussed with the dress's intricate details. I still can't believe my daughter is marrying into one of the world's most powerful families, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Are you sure about this, mi amor? Before Sophia could answer, there was a knock at the door. Lucas poked his head in, looking adorable in his miniature suit. Mama! Grandfather Al-Rahman wants to see you before the ceremony. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. Over the past 3 months, Karim's father had become an unexpected ally, but his traditional nature still made her nervous. She found him in a quiet corner of the rooftop, gazing out at the city. Beautiful evening, he said as she approached. You know, when Karim first told me he was staying in Medellin, I thought he was being foolish, throwing away centuries of tradition. He turned to face her, his eyes warm. I was wrong. He wasn't throwing anything away. He was building something, new while honoring the old. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an ornate box. This belonged to Karim's grandmother. She was also a woman who challenged traditions, who taught me that love could bridge any divide. Inside was a stunning pendant, ancient Arabic calligraphy intertwined with precious stones. She would have wanted you to have it. Tears threatened to ruin Sophia's carefully applied makeup. Thank you, she whispered as he fastened the necklace around her neck. Not just for this, but for accepting us, for supporting the Foundation's new direction. Thank you, he interrupted gently, for showing my son that duty and love don't have to be separate paths. He smiled as Lucas ran up to them, and for giving me a grandson who reminds me what really matters. The ceremony itself was a beautiful blend of cultures. Traditional Middle Eastern music flowed into Colombian rhythms, while guests from both worlds mingled beneath the starlit sky. Even Isabella, who had eventually accepted defeat gracefully, sat quietly in the back, her expression thoughtful rather than bitter. When Karim saw Sophia walking toward him, his face lit up with the same wonder she'd seen that stormy night so many months ago. He took her hands in his, speaking first in Arabic, then in Spanish, and finally in English, making their vows accessible to all their guests. I spent my life following a path others had chosen, he said, his voice carrying across the hushed gathering. Until a rainstorm brought you into my car and showed me a different way. You and Lucas didn't just enter my life, you showed me what it could be when guided by purpose and love. Sophia squeezed his hands, her own voice strong and clear. I used to think I had to choose between being a mother and pursuing my dreams. You showed me that, with the right partner, we can build something bigger than ourselves. Something that helps not just us but others too. Lucas, who had been entrusted with the rings, stepped forward proudly. Does this mean we're officially a family now? He asked, making the guests laugh tenderly. We've been a family for a while, little man, Karim replied, kneeling to his level. This just makes it official. The celebration that followed was joyous and uninhibited. Traditional dancers performed alongside modern ones, while guests from opposite sides of the world found common ground in their happiness for the couple. Eduardo Martinez, now the Foundation's deputy director, raised a toast to the future of both the family and their mission. Later that evening, as the party continued below, Sophia and Karim stole a moment alone in the very spot where they'd had their first real conversation. Happy, Karim asked, wrapping his arms around her. More than I ever thought possible, Sophia replied, leaning into him. Though I'm a little nervous about moving between Medellin and Dubai. We'll make it work, he assured her. The foundation is expanding to the Middle East, using your program as a model, and father has already enrolled in Spanish classes so he can talk to Lucas without a translator. Sophia laughed, then grew serious. Do you ever regret it? Choosing this life instead of the one that was planned for you? Karim turned her to face him, the city lights twinkling behind them like earthbound stars. The life that was planned for me was empty of meaning. You, Lucas, the foundation, you gave me purpose. You showed me that real love isn't about maintaining appearances or meeting expectations. It's about building something meaningful together. From below, they heard Lucas's delighted laughter as he danced with his new grandfather, the old man's dignity forgotten in the joy of the moment. The foundation's beneficiaries, now guests at the wedding, chatted with international business leaders about expanding the program globally. Two worlds, once separate, now intertwined in a tapestry of possibility. Ready to write our next chapter? Karim asked, offering his hand. Sophia took it, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Always. As they rejoined their guests, Sophia realized that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't just about romance. They're about the courage to challenge expectations, the strength to pursue purpose, and the wisdom to know that the heart's choices, though not always easy, are usually right. Under the starlit Colombian sky, surrounded by family both old and new, they had proven that love, like hope, knows no boundaries. It simply blooms where it's meant to, turning life's unexpected storms into the most beautiful gardens. The end. Dear viewers, we hope Sophia and Karim's story has touched your hearts as much as it has touched ours. Their journey reminds us that true love can bridge any divide, and that pursuing our purpose can lead to the most unexpected and beautiful destinations. If you enjoyed their story of love, courage, and transformation, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. We have many more inspiring tales of love and purpose waiting to be shared with you. Join our community in the comments below and tell us what touched you most about Sophia and Karim's journey. Remember, sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with a simple act of kindness during a storm. Until our next story, keep believing in love's power to transform lives.